I'm Derrick Lewis, the founder of Island People, and presently the head of Eventology, a boutique agency. I came from a family that had events. My mom is the genesis of a lot of that type of hospitality. So there was always a party in my house and something happening. If the block was having a party, it was by me. So I came up having a part of the fridge for people who would just walk in, that as an area with their drinks. So the all-inclusive started in Diamond Vale in Pearl Parkway with Joyce Lewis. My first event would have been, as a formal large-scale event, would have been in the US. Yeah, would have been in New York. It would have been in a basement. And it would have been a Halloween party. And you know, it was something very special. But again, basement. It would have been an event that would have invited people to see the line of t-shirts and clothing that I would have done. And that line, the name of that line was Island People. So it was more like I invited friends to see and buy and purchase online with this new brand, like a Tupperware party, but only, you know, t-shirts, and the line was Island People, Club Dread, Island Style, and Tribal. So the 4 different brands that I had, and the name of the company was actually Style Brokers Limited. So the company that did the first event would have been a clothing and, you know, apparel company that I had started. Subchapter S Corporation in New York as a 19-year-old or 20-year-old. So. Island People started as a clothing line. It was a matter of expression. It wasn't really a clothing line. I was going onto a field playing soccer. I was on a soccer scholarship in the US, and I was running onto a field on Oneonta State, and there were people shouting and screaming things. You know, college kids. You know, we were some people from the islands, from Jamaica, Trinidad. You know, myself and Chinopuan. On running on the field, you heard the entire school chanting, and I didn't know what they were chanting until I heard closely what they were saying. They were saying, "Island people go home." So you heard this scream, "Island people go home." But we just thought that was just a chant. I wasn't listening in until I saw like something thrown that was offensive on the ground, you know, and I saw something thrown onto the field, and it was like made me listen. And when I listened in, they were saying Island people go home. They didn't know what to call us, at West Indians, you know, Caribbeans. It's not Jamaicans. At that time, Jamaicans would have been the people who would have been the most prominent, you know, from the islands. But we weren't. So they coined it Island People. So it was frustrating to hear it, and it was a derogatory remark. But I guess if you were to roll the tape now, that's my lemonade. You know, it was something that, you know, listen to, and you're frustrated by hearing it. But then I decided, okay, yeah, I'm Island People. We Island People, yeah. Put it on my chest. Yeah, brand, Island People. So thanks to whoever was, you know, the group and the stadium chanting upstate New York of college kids. Well, it was again in New York. It was called Wanted, and it was, if I could remember, it was in a backyard. It was a backyard jam. Yeah, somewhere, I can't remember the street, but it was a backyard jam. It was Island People. It was called Wanted. Fun-loving, happy Island People. That's what was wanted. Yeah, it was like a wanted, like a criminal wanted, but it was wanted. We want people to have fun, and we want people who want to have fun. So you are wanted if you're crazy and wanted to have a good time, and if you like the island vibes, yeah, you could come. I mix up the years, but I think it would have been around 88, yeah, 88, yeah, maybe 80, somewhere between 86 and 88. I moved to Trinidad in 90. The brand moved to Trinidad as a clothing brand in 91. There was an expo on the stadium, and we featured the line that was in New York. in Trinidad. We had this line that came out of New York that now presented in Trinidad, and it was Island People. So there wasn't any parties, it was just the line of clothing at that time. And I'd moved back to Trinidad, and there was a coup. But I moved back to Trinidad, and I decided to bring the line here. And it was only after a few years of being here, doing events back in New York, 5 of them every year, from Trinidad, living here and doing 4 to 5 events, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, either Thanksgiving or Halloween. Every year I'd be doing it, living here and going back there. So I didn't have parties here at all, just the line of clothing. So I would be like, I have enough parties going on, and 5 times a year I have to fly to the US. There was no emails then. Huh? This is like doing this raw. You're doing it by phones and maybe a fax or something like that. It's crazy. So I had to do 5 events, and they were major events. Thousands of people appearing. The brand was doing well. So it was where I would leave here and go back up. I wouldn't do parties here because I was attending parties here. Everybody did good parties here, and I enjoyed them. There's Hurricane George, there was La Flor, there were a whole lot of guys doing good stuff. So I just partied here and did my business in New York, you know. But I saw a gap after 4 years. So I was here for 4 years, having events in the US and none in Trinidad. Because I didn't want to cluster, I didn't want to come with something that people had before. I didn't want to compete with, you know, guys I know and what was happening. So unless I could have brought something unique to the table, I basically was not going to do anything here. But then I saw the opportunity in themed events. Nobody was doing themed events, thematic events. Nobody was really coming out with a strong theme and really living to actually creating an experience. And I decided, okay, I will want to create Island People to do well, to bring the brand, but I would like it to be really structured where it is a call to come and experience something rather than to come and just party with your friends, you know, or bring a bottle. At that time, there was a lot of Dutch parties and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I'm going to throw a theme at them. And that happened. And I also didn't want to compete with anybody. So I kind of marketed a little bit to, you know, East crowd, or West crowd, or South crowd, or Uptown crowd, Downtown crowd. And I was telling people that of all the promoters, if I could get 10% of their people to come to my party, then, or I shouldn't say my party, but our party, because Island People is plural and has always been. It's not Island person. So if we could get 10% from everyone, it wouldn't hurt anyone. But Island People could exist as a brand, taking a lot of different people from different places and have a brand that never competed. You never felt you lost more than 10 to 15% of your people if I had an event on the same night as you, because I wanted to commune. It was Island People. I didn't want to be like some iconic, you know, island man or whatever the case is. So that was what was needed, and it worked. It worked where people I didn't compete. There was no competition. There was just a chance where I was doing something and everybody could come. And it wasn't like this crowd or that crowd was coming. Just everybody wanted to have fun, and it worked. I think Amnesia is the Island People's signature event, not because it was the biggest or the most popular. I think it's because of what it aimed to do and when it was held. It was like the first big event of the year. You know, and although we didn't create the all-inclusive genre, it was started, Yui had their fete, Vinny had their fete. So I don't claim it, but it was the first event to like bring Marshall in an all-inclusive. Marshall was off limits then for an all-inclusive. He was seen as, you know, now we don't actually use, you know, Marshall for an all-inclusive. So we had Marshall for 4 years before anybody actually hired Marshall. So it was actually proving that another model could work, that something that more like a fete could be an all-inclusive. Actually, it started as a semi-inclusive. At that time, it would have been Ian would have contributed tremendously, Ian Wilshire, Dane, Lewis, and the entire team, you know, like Derrick Simon and the Simons, you know, Michelle, and, you know, it's just a whole crew of people. Marlon was there, you know, Sandra Hoddat, you know, all of them, I mean, I could keep calling names as I remember them, but they don't come to me as quickly. But there were a lot of people who are in the industry today were there. Sean Burkett, Tanya Gomes, they were all island people, so it's a nice big crew, and a lot of people, a lot of great successes came out of that, and that's cool, so it was island people. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't know me, because I'm not island man, I'm not island person. It's a plural brand, plurality of a brand is important, and plurality of any brand that I would be associated with would be important to me, because I did not necessarily want to represent the brand. What the brand did would have been what the brand is. So Vail is going on for a few years, and it's a great time. There's a great team of people doing Vail. I'm a Vail boy, was there at the beginning, in the initiation. Wayne and I were talking, and the whole team of guys who I know and girls who I know. So that's going on really good, but it's getting huge. And I'm thinking, wow, it would be great to do something, because I'm doing events in the US still, right? Large scale events, and I'm a producer, so. But I was so bogged down because I'd come back to work at Lewis Appliances, and that was a full-time job, interestingly enough. So that was primarily why I came back. I didn't come back to start Island People. I came back to work at Lewis Appliances because it was just starting. It had started just about a year. My brother Dane and my father and a team of people got together and started Lewis Appliances. And I had my marketing skills, coming out with an MBA in marketing, and working in an advertising agency in New York for a couple of years, and I brought that skill down along with the brand. Because of my marketing skills and advertising agency skills, the brand actually got the benefit of that. So I was able to bring it to Trinidad and then evolve it into the parties and stuff like that. But at the time that Diamond Vail was just absolutely fabulous, and that team was working well, and they have all the credit to give for their work. I didn't really have a lot to do with the rollout of it because I'm busy doing all over now starting Girl Power, After a few years, I wanted to do something bigger, so I had the concept, and I went to a couple people. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I went to the people who I thought would be the big producers of the day with the concept, saying, boy, I want to, and I wouldn't call names, but the two biggest guys in the actual event industry at the time. I went and I said, Daddy, Uncle, I have this idea, I was part of Vail Vibe and stuff like that, and, that's my boys and everything, but I have a bigger idea, and it's something that really, monumental, and the thing in my head was Trinidad and Tobago at that time does not have something that we could boast to the world about that was outrageously, more than, bigger than, longer than anybody else. We were the party people of the world as far as we were concerned, but we had no, we could have done with something to boast and say you could party for 12 hours, and we were doing that. It was being done in Diamond Vail, but it would have been cool now to try to see if you could get more people and get this bigger thing and do a band. So my thing was I wanted to create a fete, and Vail Vibe, which I had little parts to do with, was a party, and a party and a fete could coexist. So I was good to do it on the same night, and I was like, yeah, I have the idea. But I shopped it to two people who were the big guys at the time doing a lot of events. I remember one of them said, well, he doesn't have any time for something like that because he's doing 17 events. They were doing lots of events. And another one of them said, Derrick, so how many people go Vail? I say about 800, maybe 1,200. I remember this clearly. He said, so what make you feel 10,000 people gonna go down in the bush down Chaguaramas? I say, I just feeling it. I had the vibe. I seen it. I know. I can't tell you exactly why they would go, but I know, And he said, look, I'll take a little while. I'll talk to my little consultants and stuff like that, and I'll tell you. I'll give you a call. Got a call in a couple of days. He said, Derrick, you could go ahead with that one because I ain't sure about that, And then I went and called a friend, producer, and Dane and I would have talked about it, and we were busy, and New York, Lewis Upline, there's a lot going on, and decided, you know what, it has to be done, and we reached out to Ian Wilshire, who was in Canada at that time, back and forth Trinidad, Canada, and said, yeah, you know what, could you get the bands, Marshall and they, because having difficulty getting bands in Trinidad here, if you can, do that, it would be really good. We could partner on it, and he was able to not only get the bands, but bring in a lot of promotional strength. He's a genius marketing-wise, Dane held the fort with all of the production, all the venue things, all the instrumental things, financial, all those things. And I worked on developing the actual brand and developing all that it is to the market and stuff like that. So I think it was, for me, it was an opportune time because we all saw the opportunity, but very few other people saw it. And the guys in Diamond Vale thought it would compete against Vale. And I was like, nah, maybe a little while people will be a little confused, but it will work itself out. And it eventually did, I think. I think it eventually worked itself out because people who go Vale, not really insomnia, and they didn't have a problem with one another, but it's just they coexisted, I think. Yeah. I think it really picked up after we went to Ambassador. We made a big statement there, and we used different plateaus, different levels. It was multi-dimensional, using the poolside, the deck. We created decks and scaffolding, and they were safe to people to stand up on and party, and it just looked good. The stage was also above the entrance to the hotel on a deck, and it was just something that would have been a bit like, it wasn't overkill, it was just like grand, more grand than people expected. And I think when you make that type of statement, you're willing to go out there and bat and go down the wicket and swing. If you pick up with that ball, it starts to fly, and that's what happened. I must say that events needed to mean something to me, and this is very important. To island people, events needed to mean something more than just people coming together. So the genesis of the events, and when we got together as a group, the whole team got together, Anthony Andrews and the Simon boys and Sean and Dane and I and the whole, Sandra, the whole team got together on some events to come up with the conceptual themes and stuff like that. And we had to have something beyond actually the theme. So Girl Power was about uplifting women. So we contributed donations to shelters, to women's causes and stuff like that out of Girl Power. So Represent, when we did Represent, it was about nobody wore Trinidad and Tobago colors. Nobody wore anything Trinidad and Tobago. Nobody represented. People wear USA things, they wear Jamaica things, but there was no, so we wanted to represent. We had people sing the national anthem in the middle of the event. We stopped the event and everybody had to stand up. If you were drunk, you had to stand up and sing the national anthem. And we went further than that the next year. You had to do the pledge. I pledged to serve my country. We did the national anthem with percussion. Just percussion. No pan, nothing. Just percussion. We had so many ways to represent, to try to love your country, to wear your flag, to get a watch with a flag on. So Represent was truly, I was proud to be a Trinidadian. I'd lived outside, and I know what it is to represent, but we took it for granted here. And Represent died its death, a natural death, when I produced the Soca Warriors campaign for Germany, for Trinidad and Tobago in Germany. I was fortunate to produce the Soca Warriors campaign for the Ministry of Culture, Tourism, Trade, and Sport. Yes, culture. I was fortunate to produce the event along with and for those 4 ministries that represented in Germany. When we were finished with all the things that we'd done for Trinidad and Tobago, people represented. And when I came back to Trinidad, there was no drive anymore for people to represent. People were wearing red, white, and black. They were proud of Trinidad and Tobago. So my job as to trying to get young people to represent and wear their flags and do things and, was done. Represent lasted 1 more year and that was it. There's no need for it, The reason had gone. Insomnia, we distribute on behalf of the UNFPA and UNAIDS condoms in the events. I feel confident that we might have saved some lives, and we might have, treated with some situations that related to carnival with sexual conduct and stuff like that, mistakes, situations that, that's what insomnia was at that time, that you could give somebody something. And we kind of did a whole team distribution with YMCA and stuff like that. So that was going on while insomnia was going on. So with all the madness, there needed to be something to ground every event. Okay, the journey to Island People Mass. Just as an overview statement, my interest in Mass was carnival specific. It was that I'm an event producer and we're doing some of the biggest events in the Caribbean and in Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah? If you're an event producer, and the biggest event in the country is carnival, correct? Yeah. So you need to be in carnival to be the ultimate event company. Without carnival, you're doing events. But the biggest event in your country, globally known, if anybody was to ask, what's the biggest event in Trinidad and Tobago, they'll say carnival. So that was my interest in carnival. I needed to do it. It was a box to tick, and an intrigue, and but I'm not necessarily a carnival man. I'm a Juve man, Everybody would know that who would see me at Juve morning, But I'm a Juve man more than a carnival man. So, but carnival as a professional, it intrigued me to actually do it. And how it came about, we had a team meeting about 4 years before we started, and we tried to start a carnival thing. We had some designs and we had people getting together, and that's the first time I met Sandra Hordat. She had done some designs. I realized she was really, really talented. We tried to get this thing done. We got some designs and everything was going good. And the team one part was like, we don't want to do carnival. We have too many events going on. We have Girl Power, we have Dawn, we have Amnesia, Girl Power, Dawn, Insomnia. It's just too much to add carnival to that. So half of the faction, and then we had a group go and get all the ways to do it, to prove to the other side that it could be done and logistically, but it didn't, it failed. For one reason or the other, it failed. So 3 years after, Barbarossa had subsided and Tribe had started, and there was an opportunity to evolve, and people were talking about it, that we could do it, but I really wasn't oriented at that time. It was a time when the brands needed to have some management. It was huge, and it was at that point, I really couldn't take on Mass in my head, or we didn't feel 100% sure. But in stepped Stefan Montai, and saying that they had a section in Poison that Sandra would have designed and stuff, and it was a group of them, him and Million, and a group of them, let me just say a group of them, had a section or a cart, and they wanted to do more. And I said, well, it's too much for us to do. They said, well, they want to take a lot of the responsibilities off of us while we do our events. And it sounded good on paper, and it was something I said, okay, I'll consider that if you will take off all the stress while we're doing all these events during Carnival, and you would look at Mass and you're into Mass. And then Marlon Grant had a section also in Poison, and or Barbarossa, Poison, or whatever. And he also wanted to evolve and get bigger, him and Tish and a group of them. So, okay, he was in our team, and he was into Mass. We were into events, and then there was Stefan and Sandra and that team, and Montai and a couple other people, Million and stuff. And they actually said they will actually be one of the engines of it. And I said, okay, well, if that's the case, then I could keep on doing the events, because I'm not that interested in Mass, but I want to do it to tick a box and to experience it and do it. So yeah, that's how it came about. We actually teamed up to do it. So the Island People Mass was made up of about 13 people, whereas Island People was just 2 people, basically. 3, well, it was 2, Dane and I, and an entire team of people But it was a team, a committee, an operations team, people with specific duties with promotion, marketing. Whereas the group that was Island People Mass was a group of people who were all like owners of the event, owners of the brand. I like where the industry is. I'm really disheartened by the situations with COVID. I am working on solutions where I think I could support in this time where my head is and where Island People would be and what this thought machine will do is to do something like Carnicon. We have Carnival Conversations, which is Carnival Conference. It's a global conference. It's on the 4th and 5th of February. And that's the kind of things that I'm doing. The 4th and 5th of February, Venice, Brazil, New Orleans, London, Trinidad, Barbados, Jamaica. There's speakers from around the world that are going to be chiming in on 4 topics, 2 on the 4th and 2 on the 5th. That is called Carnicon, which is Carnival Conference, which is like Comic-Con, but it's now Carnival Conversations. So it's Carni Conversations because it has to be virtual, because people can't come to Trinidad. It was planned as a conference. But that's what I feel we could do now. That's what I feel I could bring to the table now. I could bring global minds to the table to bring our best practices up for us to see a reflection, because sometimes we've been insular. We're the best carnival, we are the most vibes, but we're not understanding that Tenerife Carnival out of Spain is the 2nd and 3rd best carnival. If you look at any ratings, you'd say, well, who's Tenerife? It's an island off of Spain, and it's a hell of a carnival, has beautiful costumes. But that's what I think we need to see here. Colombia's carnival has grown rapidly. Barranca Carnival. It has grown tremendously. So there are small cities in Brazil. So what we're doing is something like that. And I feel that the people or the minds around what Island People should be supporting in a different place, should be bringing a different light to the economy. As a brand grows and evolves, it needs to find another place. I can't run in the same race, but I have enough experience to be able to teach in the same race or to share knowledge in the same race, or to show people where the landmines are, which I constantly do, so that they could look further rather than looking down. So when I tell the generation, listen, watch out for this, I do it every day. Every week, I'm talking to a dance crew, I'm talking to a promotion crew, I'm talking to people about just trying to keep them on board, give them some experience, share some things, just to make sure they don't look down at the landmines. I've had landmines. I could go on for days about landmines. But another generation that's coming now, you guys don't need to look down. You need to look further ahead so you can get a lot further than I did.